Our first speaker, I think you're going to love him. His name is Jon Hammond. And Jon and his wife Leslie own a top producing real estate team focusing on residential and commercial real estate. Jon is an executive director with the John Maxwell team, offering coaching, communication, and leadership training to small and large businesses. Jon has been a member of Toastmasters for 9 years and has brought 2 clubs to President Distinguished, reaching 10 out of 10 DCP goals consistently. Spending time with his family, their grandchildren, and touring on their motorcycle is his passion. We're asking that if you have any questions, you can type it in the chat or wait until after he's finished, and then we'll have a question and answer period. So please welcome Jon Hammond.
Thank you, Sandy, and a rousing round of applause. It's just blowing me away with the sound of the crowd. It's just quiet. This week, we have witnessed the passing of a legend. We have had the opportunity to hear a little bit more about the notorious RBG. This is the passing of a significant leader in our world. And in her honor, I'd like to share a couple of quotes, couple of my favorite RBG quotes. One is, fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. And secondly, real change, enduring change, happens one step at a time. That is from Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Tonight, it's my goal to help you learn how to empower, enrich, and engage your audiences and your team. So the goal is to learn how to empower, enrich, and engage your audiences, your team, and your clubs. And if it gets a little bit too dry and we need to have some fun, we're just going to try to loosen it up, if you will, and we might just get a little bit crazy from time to time, if that's okay with you. But anyway, we're going to have some serious fun, if you know what I mean. So what kind of leader do you want to be? Do you want to be commanding, or do you want to be empowering? If you think of a commanding leader, this is someone that some people think about their parents. That's an easy association when it comes to early leadership experience, or perhaps a middle manager or a senior level manager that is commanding and controlling. This is the type of person that says, do as I say and not as I do. Or because I said so. Remember those words when you were growing up? Or one of my favorite from my father was, it's my way or the highway. You knew what that one was, didn't you? A commanding leader is insecure, and they create followers, and they tell versus show. I want to share this slide with you because I think you'll find it kind of funny, because this is, in my opinion, a way that a commanding leader operates. So who in this particular slide is really the commanding leader? Well, it could be the person behind. He's really pushing along, and the other person in front, he's pulling. But who is really in control here? I think you'll agree it's actually the donkey that's in control. The others just think that they're in control. So a commanding leader is insecure as a rule. And I don't really want to be a commanding leader, and I don't think you do either. I would expect that you want to be an empowering leader, where you want your people that work within your organization to feel free to make a choice. My mom was an empowering leader, and she would say, the choice is yours, yet you must consider the consequences. Now, I did consider the consequences, and sometimes I didn't really consider all the consequences. You ever have your mom say, go cut a switch? There's a real mind meld for you. What size switch do I cut for my level of discipline? The other lesson I learned with empowering leadership is take ownership and responsibility for your choices. Don't play victim, don't blame others, that take ownership and responsibility. We are all human. We do make mistakes. And what's important is that we learn from our experience. So an empowering leader is secure. An empowering leader creates leaders. An insecure leader, commanding leader, creates followers for a while until they just get tired of being browbeaten and belittled. Then the people who are following, they don't follow for very much longer. An empowering leader knows the way and is willing to show the way. One question you might want to ask yourself is, do I want control or do I want to have growth? You really can't have both. So be a leader that people want to follow. Remember what RBG said. And also, it's not about popularity, who is the most popular leader. It's about respect. People will ask themselves, how do I feel about this leader? They will. How do I feel about him as a leader or her as a leader? Do you remember what Maya Angelou said? People will forget what you said, but they won't forget how you made them feel. So how do I feel about this leader? I feel valued. I want them to say, either verbally or non-verbally, I notice that you matter. Number two, I feel inspired. I want to be inspired by this leader. And also, I want to be empowered. Being empowered means that I'm being trusted. So you want to be an empowering leader. But how do you do that? You lead from the heart. And you are genuine. You're honest. You're straightforward. You're willing to admit that you made a mistake. I love being in front of the Toastmasters group as a leader. And I think back of being a president, and I love to say, hey, anybody can do this. We all mess up, and you just don't want to come off as too polished. And also be willing to admit that you're a work in progress as well. And that will empower your people to be able to step up and make some mistakes. Secondly, have the passion to inspire your team. Now, what is the difference between motivating and inspiring? Motivating is more of convincing and pushing. And inspiring is pulling out of you what is currently in you already. I'm going to show a couple of slides and show you the difference between inspiration and motivation. In this particular slide, you can see the leader of the rowing team. He's got his back to you. Now, they put a smaller person in front, yet this person is calling out and barking out orders, and he is motivating this team. Now, that's the difference. That is motivation. He's actually telling you what to do. The difference with motivation and inspiration, you can think back at the early days of track, maybe in the 40s or the 50s, when track coaches were teaching track stars how to run, and the 4-minute mile hadn't been broken. Everyone had a mind state that it was impossible until Roger Bannister in 1954 actually broke the 4-minute mile. Was it impossible up until that point? No, it really wasn't. He wasn't anything special physiologically. There were other people that were as strong or as fast as he was, yet from the neck up, he had a checkup, and he learned that it was actually possible. So this is inspiration. When other runners saw that Roger Bannister actually broke the 4-minute mile, that 4-minute mile consistently was broken. Now, the current record is about 3 minutes 45, and that lasted for about 2 decades. Yet the 4-minute mile was actually broken. All right, this is where we need to lighten things up because it's becoming a little bit dry. So, no, I'm not going to stay with this all the time. Being an empowering leader, you want to inspire and have people follow you. The first indicator that you are an empowering leader is that the only decisions that you make are the ones that only you can make. If you think about it, there are very few decisions that only you can make. Think about being in a company and you are the president of a company or you're a leader of a large group within the company, and it comes time to fire an employee within the team. You'd love to delegate that. However, that is something that only you can do. So, one, what are the decisions that only I can make? I'm going to delegate the rest. An empowering leader has team members that are constantly being creative and taking risks. Most of us are Toastmaster leaders. We think about our clubs that we are over with areas or division. We want to empower the presidents of the clubs to be able to take risks, make decisions, build their clubs. We are not going to do it for them. We want to empower them to make their own decisions. Conversely, with the presidents, the president wants to share their vision and empower the other officers to work creatively and build within their own teams. That's how it works. Have them be confident to take risks. The way that works is that trust is really the foundation. Without trust, you have nothing. A secure leader will trust. Now, if the leader doesn't trust, that means one of two things. Either they're too controlling or they have the wrong person on the team. That happens. You have to ask yourself, why do I not trust? I'm going to take you back a few years. Look at a large stage. There's a gentleman on stage. He's walking with confidence, wearing a black t-shirt. He's got round wire rim glasses, and he's speaking with great confidence. The entire crowd is leaning in and listening to everything that he's saying. Do you know who he is yet? On the screen behind him is a huge Apple logo. I'll bet you know who he is now. Steve Jobs. Now, I bet you agree that this was one visionary leader. This person had vision and conviction for that vision and was willing to take risks and do whatever it takes to carry it out. I don't know if you remember in 2002 when the iPod was introduced, Steve Jobs held this little device up and he made this claim that said, this little device will revolutionize the music industry. At that point, we had cassette tapes, we had CDs. When's the last time you actually bought a CD? You download it. Everything is in an MP3 or it's online through Pandora or some other service. We have thousands of pieces of music available to us. Now, the way to monetize that has really changed. So he was right. The way that we do business, the whole mind state for the music industry shifted because he had vision. Michelangelo, the great sculptor, he looked at a huge block of granite, block of stone, and he says, I see an angel in there. My job is to set her free. He sees it in his mind. He has the complete vision, and little by little, he chipped away parts of that stone so that it's a beautiful angel, and that is vision. John Maxwell has two specific laws that I appreciate in the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. Law number 13 is the law of the picture or vision. People will do what people see. Number 14 is the law of buy-in. People will buy into the leader, then the vision. You probably thought it was the other way around. It was the solid vision that one would have, and then you would get buy-in to that vision. It's actually the opposite. So with vision, the leader sees before others see. They have passion. They have undying belief. Now, I recently shared a vision with myself. That sounds funny. I had a vision that I was going to train my dog how to go get the newspaper. In my mind, this dog was capable. It could actually bend down, pick up the paper in its mouth, and bring it back inside with a simple command. He wants to please, but he looked at me like, what? I don't get it. It took some time to communicate my vision. Now, I also had to get buy-in from the dog. The dog had to know that it's going to get a treat at the end of that, so I had to be patient and share my vision with him. So it's important to have buy-in before the vision is actually carried out, because the leader knows the way and shows the way. My vision in 2012 for Signal Peak Toastmasters was to build the club and have the club reach 10 out of 10 DCP goals. I was told that when I joined that for the previous 9-10 years, they only had 9 out of 9 goals. And I asked why. Well, we just have never made that 10th goal. But why not? Let's give it a shot. So my 2 goals, being president in 2013, was to have 10 out of 10 DCP goals and also have 30 members. At that point, we had 11. And people looked at me like, really? We haven't had that many members. But yet, that was my vision. I already had buy-in. I had to prove that I was willing to do what everyone else is going to do at the same time. How are we going to get there? The program that we put in place was a catalyst with an open house. Now, the best way to communicate our club and to build that club rapidly is to have a wildly successful open house. What was our goal? Our goal was to have 10 new members. I'm going to share with you what I call the no-fail formula on how to build for an event. You can also call it the 4X formula. So remember, we wanted 10 new members. So that meant that we needed 4 times that many guests to show up. How do you get 40 guests to show up? You multiply that by 4. So 4 times 40 is the number of people actually confirmed to be there. That's 160 committed. These are people that you've called, you've talked to, you've followed up, and they said, absolutely, without fail, I will be there. You can count on me. 25% of them will actually show up. So in order to get 160 committed, we had to have 4 times that invited. That's 640 people invited. I formed a committee, and yep, they gave me this look. How are we going to do that? Well, with 10 people, that breaks down to only 64 per person to invite. That can be an email, it can be a phone call, it can be text, and that's how we built our list. So everyone had a list of 64 people to invite, and we followed up, and we had regular meetings to see how we are on track. What was the result? We had 43 guests at the open house. 43. Blew the doors off. We had a couple of great speakers. It was standing room only. It was so much fun. The result? We had 8 new members sign up that night, and 2 by the end of the week. We had our 10 members. So you see, the no-fail formula actually works. So this takes enrollment. Enrollment with your team as well as your guests and your members. What is enrollment? Enrollment is getting someone to do what you want them to do for their reasons. For their reasons. First, establish relationship. This is step 1. You want to introduce them to new friends and get to know them and invite them warmly. Number 2, create value. How do you create value for people? Well, you don't. You have to get to know what their reasons are. Remember, they will do it for their own reasons. Step number 3, provide the data. They want to know how much it is to be a member, what's involved, and what's in it for me. They have to make that decision for themselves. Number 4 is the most important. Close. Ask them to join. How many of you have been in a meeting? At the end of the meeting, it was so great, and they said, "Thank you for coming." Not one person, not one guest was actually asked to join. Drives me crazy. We plant seeds all throughout the meeting and make the people feel comfortable, and at the end, they want to be asked to join, and that's how we build. Matter of fact, since we've been locked down for COVID, in our Talkative and Signal Peak websites, we've actually added members easily because we don't forget step number 4, ask them to join. Number 5 is follow up. If the person is not enrolled, one of these steps is missing. Step 1, establish relationship. 2, create value for their reasons. Number 3, provide information and data. 4, close. Ask them to join. And number 5, follow up. So the result was fantastic. Back in 2012, we broke the glass ceiling. We achieved our 10 out of 10 goals. We were President's Distinguished. And Signal Peak Toastmasters has done that every year since for the past 7 years. A leader is not the one with the most followers. A leader is the one who creates the most leaders. Toastmasters says it's leaders creating leaders, or where leaders are made. What we do well is that when we have a new slate of officers, the previous officers work with the new officers and encourage them and help them succeed. So each president, they don't want to be left out to be the one that didn't make 10 out of 10 and break the streak. So we all lean in and make sure that everyone knows that we're all in this together as a family. And they feel that. Talkative Toastmasters is the other club that I belong to. My wife and I founded this about 1.5 years ago. It actually took us 5 months to charter. This is in South Chandler. We had never really chartered a club by ourselves. We've been sponsoring members in the past, yet we wanted a club in South Chandler. Our vision was something where our kids would join. Well, none of them did. Anyway, they changed the rules for charting a new club and made it a little bit more difficult, and that's why it took 5 months to do so. It required 17 new members, and we could have 4 legacy members or dual members. So my wife and I and the Gramondos were the 4 core people that were the founding members, and we charted in 5 months. A few months later, we started seeing our DCP goals start to get filled out. And 3 months before the end of the year, I decided, someone has to decide, that we were going to get 10 out of 10 goals. I shared that vision with our new club, and you guessed it, this was the look. We showed that it's possible, and we did achieve 10 out of 10 goals. We had a great party to celebrate, and we knew that it was possible. And what's the key? The key is to empower your people, enrich the experience for your members and your team, and to engage members and keep them moving. Empower, enrich, and engage. I'm going to share my screen one more time, and then we're going to take some questions. Now, I did steal this phrase. This is my company, E3 Leadership Team. And E3 stands for Empower, Enrich, and Engage. One morning I was out walking with my wife and looked up at a cloud formation, and it actually said E and 3. And I tried to figure out what that meant. And it is such an important phrase for me because that is the foundation of which I do my coaching, my training, and my workshops. And I have other people on my team that I bring in for different services. And that's how E3 leadership was born and what I can bring to everyone else. So I'm going to open it up for questions, and whoever is monitoring this and can throw out some questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Hi, John. We had a couple of questions about the 5 steps to getting people. Could you go over those just a little bit? Just tell us what they were.
The
Again.
5 steps for enrollment.
Yes.
Okay. The first is build relationships. And you want to be able to build a relationship with your members or your people. Second is create value. Creating value, and that means around their reasons. Number 3, provide information and data. They'll feel that they want to get involved with Toastmasters, but they may not know the mechanics of what to do next. How do I fill out the form? What does it cost me? How do I sign up for pathways, etc.? That's the data. Number 4, close. Ask them to join. And number 5, follow up.
Anybody else have questions for John?
Okay, and we're going to do this if you don't ask any questions.
Actually, Donetta Miller has a question. Donetta, if you can take yourself off mute, you may ask your question.
Hi, Donetta.
Okay, can you hear me?
Now I can.
Oh, good. Yeah, I mean, that is such the hardest thing to do. I know you said just ask 64 people, but, there's times I want to get together and just do, just like little things like go on a hike or go on a trip, do a cruise together. Just get 10 people to do a cruise together. And everybody's always, oh, that sounds so good. It sounds like fun. And then they just don't want to commit. And just like you said, even if you get, like, let's say 12 people to commit and you only wanted 6, you're down to 2, it's just, how do you get people to buy in? There's got to be some type of magic you have, or, I just don't know how to do it.
I hear you, and it takes patience. I'm telling you, I really had the vision of chartering Takatio in 60 days. I had no idea that it would take 5 months. It just took a little bit longer. And that's it just keeps going back to the basic enrollment strategy is keep inviting and be consistent. And then when people are there, have them tell their friends, because that's how it's going to organically grow. How to get people to follow through on commitments. You say you invited 12 people to go on a cruise and only 2 people showed up. Well, gee, that's like the 4X formula, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now it's so different because there are so many yeah buts out there. Hey, I want to go on a hike. Yeah, but I need a mask. I want to go on a cruise. Well, yeah, but there's COVID. Yeah, but. It's challenging. I really am pleased with how Zoom has operated and it helped me learn a new way of communicating and be more effective online. It may not address your question, however, just being consistent is one thing.
All right. It does. It's just I have to be patient and just keep doing it, and then just kind of build on the people and keeping, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep asking and build that base. It's basically what you're saying. You need to build a base that will commit, because there's people that will commit. It's just that's what you consider your base, and that's how you get things up and running, correct?
Exactly. So when we started with Takatio, we had 4 people, and then we had an open house, and 4 people became 6, and we empowered the 6 to invite 2 more, and just working with your core level people. I was afraid that when we stopped our public meetings, our in-person meetings, that our clubs were going to collapse. Because for me, I thought the only way that we can really be successful is to be face-to-face, stand up, and actually deliver our speeches in a live environment, that it wouldn't work with Zoom. Well, I prejudged. And I found that there were as many or more people that were willing to engage socially and have a strong, safe social outlet with Zoom, as long as they felt respected, that they felt that they were making progress. And the fact that Pathways is online, the more we had mentorship and follow up with our members and encouragement on each of the meetings and celebrating the wins along the way, we have actually grown more with our Zoom platform and grown more rapidly than we did with our face-to-face meetings. It just seemed like things got in the way. Now with Zoom, you can commit and have a private location. Hopefully, not everyone has a quiet private room that they can be in their Zoom environment. But if you go back to the basics and connect with your people, set up mentorship, and help them along the way with Pathways, you can be successful in a virtual environment. And they don't have to be within the same town. They can be all over town or from other states, and they can be members of your club.
Okay, John, our next question is from Walter Clement. Walter, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, Walter.
Hello, how you doing?
Great.
You kind of answered the question early just now, but during these times that of COVID, how do you recruit people? Because the question that I had, you have less contact with people now than I had before. And how do you actually recruit them? How you contact them? How you meet them to have something to say to them?
Well, we have a rather robust website. The webmaster that we have created a great website with lots of content, and we have people that are searching for us and find us on the web and look at our website and learn about our members, what it is that we do, look at the videos, and we also have someone, the VP of PR, to set up meetup sites as well as linking in with social media, and that's how we recruit. But the real basics is, who do you know? What friends do you want to join? And we encourage at the end of the meeting, just bring one person, bring one guest for the next meeting.
John, next question is from Judy Carlisi. Judy, you may unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hi, Judy.
Hi. I was curious if you had tried a hybrid model where you perhaps have even as few as 3 people meet, and then you have a monitor and you can still see and hear the people on Zoom, and then you can all have a turn in front of the computer speaking. I'm just wondering if you had thought about that. Thank you.
Paul?
Yeah, and thank you, John. And in follow up to Judy's question about the hybrid meeting, I think the hybrid meeting is probably where Toastmasters will eventually end. Not sure if the timing is right yet. For me personally, I'm in 2 clubs, and both clubs meet on corporate campuses. And both those corporations are not allowing visitors from outside of the company on campus. And also they're limiting the workers who do work for the companies to be on campus, all in the interest of being safe for everyone. One company has made the statement that they are not allowing non-essential employees on campus until a vaccine is introduced and those folks have had the vaccine. Until then, the remote working situation is the better way to go. Now, once we do go to hybrid meetings, you're going to have a new component of having some type of video producer that's going to be responsible for having the camera set up and a projection screen so that everyone on both ends can be seen. So there's a lot of logistics that are going to need to be figured out. And I'm sure that Toastmasters will come up with a list of best practices eventually in the future. It's definitely an interesting concept.
Yeah, we've talked about hybrid meetings, and we've tried the hybrid meetings in a couple of our clubs, and it does take some extra finesse. I think that perhaps a sergeant at arms will become perhaps a person who monitors the camera and the audio, but it does take some finesse and some technical capabilities of wherever you're going to be.
Yeah, the role of Zoom master may become an officer in the future for all we know, right?
Judy, did you get your questions addressed?
Yes, I just was curious about that. We have done a hybrid meeting, and what we do is we set up a computer on a podium at eye level, and that whoever's speaking in front of the computer, of course, is on Zoom. And then we connect the laptop to the monitor, which faces the guests that are physically present. And we were meeting on a patio for a while. And so even in the sunlight, the TV monitor, you could still see all the Zoom participants. The only problem we've had a little trouble with is sound, because you do have to have a speaker plugged in. And you can't have more than one device on, because then the sound reverberates and echoes and causes all kinds of problems. But that worked really well, because I thought we needed a projector, but the TV monitor is great, and it's lightweight. You can, move it from where you need to be. We're having to move to a restaurant type of environment. We're going to try that on Tuesday, because we meet very early and the restaurant's empty. And so we're going to try that. But yeah, we have the same problem, is our facility does not want to let us in. And so that's been the biggest struggle. And that's it. I'll be quiet now.
Thank you, Judy. Yeah, that's the problem we have. We're going to meet at Yavapai College, and they have a room already set up for hybrid, but we can't get on campus. So, all right. Thank you, Jon. Everybody give him a big round of applause, virtual round of applause. And I loved your presentation. I know it's difficult to do it when you can't see the audience and you don't know what's going on. But thank you so much for being here and for taking time out of your life to help us all out. Right, with that, I'd like to once again thank Jon for being here. I'd like to thank Paul for all of his work manipulating the Zoom meeting for us. And thanks, Karen, for allowing us to use the Zoom webinar software. So everyone have a great evening. I hope you enjoyed it, and please come back again.